Hello everyone, today I'm working on this Model Power F40ph, and it's not the same as the Lifelike. The gas tank weight here is a little bit loose. That's easy to fix with some crazy glue. It's not the same as the Lifelike. It's not quite as high quality, so I'm not too sure how this is gonna run, although it looks clean enough. Let's go put it on the track and find out. In the box is included a couple of little things. The plastic's damaged a little bit, but I'm still gonna keep this. And there's a little wrench here. This is to remove the wire brush. There's an illustration here of what to do, but very seldom that you do that. And there's the handrails for the back, so they're included in there. So that too is going to be easy to fix with some crazy glue. So these wrenches, you don't really use them too much, but it's nice to have one at least. So let's see if it's going to run for us. So the power pickup is okay. That means the wheels are clean. I'm going to give it just a little bit more electricity. So although it's a bit noisy, seems to run pretty close to its optimal ability. So probably I can help it and make it run to its best ability. So you can easily see the motor is not the same quality as the Lifelike, but interestingly enough, it does run very well for its ability. The shell removal on these is just 4 tabs. It's pretty easy. If you remember, the Lifelike one has a weight in the front and in the back. These only have a weight in the back. So very much not the same level of quality. However, this little guy runs surprisingly well. So they have a little door here that covers the worm gear. So we can remove that. Because it's in really good shape to begin with, I don't have to do too much disassembly. I can just get into the worm gears like so. And just put one little drop there. That should be plenty. And let me just get a decoder here. So this was in my box of bad decoders, but if you wanted to use this, you could. You would just have to interpose this between you would have to cut the 2 wires that lead from the trucks to the motor. I wish they had put some colored stuff, but they didn't. So see, there's wires running from the trucks to the motor. So one is one side of the track and the other is the other side. And they're soldered in under here. So we'd have to put this in the middle somewhere. Actually, there's plenty of room for that. It would fit in here. And the gray and the yellow go to the motor, and the red and the black go to the truck wires. So that's how you would convert this to DCC. It's doable. Now I'm going to spend most of my attention on the trucks. Now you can't just remove them because they're wired in. So you can push this little pin here, push it down very gently, and that should just come out nice and easy. Maybe the other way is better. There. And then You won't be able to remove them completely, but you can get a little slack. And with the little slack, that gives you a chance to remove the side frames. So you get a chance to remove the side frames, just pry them up a little bit. With the slack, it's going to give you a chance to remove them completely. Yeah, there isn't much slack in there, but it will give you a chance to wiggle them around. You see, you can wiggle them around and then remove them. So that gives you access to the wheels for cleaning, gives you access to the side frames. And then the wheels, you can pry them very gently and they'll come out. So I am going to re-clean them. So while I'm re-cleaning them, I'll also check the gauge as I put them back. So these you can pry them out very gently. And then you can clean them. Also this little pickup strip, you have the opportunity to clean it. It's a very basic old-timey engine, but it's still fun to have it around. So these, I'll just clean them with my rag. And I've got 4 more to go after this. So for me, I much prefer there's a little bit of dirt on there. I don't know if you can see it. There's a tiny little bit of dirt. Although it did run very close to optimal. I think putting a little lubrication is going to help it. Yeah, so now that looks much better. So I've got 4 more to do. Once you have the wheels apart, you can do a little bit of checking. Make sure there's a little bit of tension on here. You don't need a lot, but you need just a little bit. And you can spread the gearbox out. So spreading the gearbox gives you a chance to get in there and maybe put some lube in it. Now you don't want to go overboard, but just put maybe just a little bit. So that's going to help it out. So I'll be doing that on both sides. Also, there's a little gear in here. Don't forget about it. It's pretty tough to see it, but it is there. And that rides on this axis here. So as we put the axis back, we'll make sure and get that lubricated as well. So as I put my wheels back, they're just pressed on. I bring my my Kato coupler gauge in and I check the gauge as I go. So I'm going to be taking my time to adjust it just perfectly. That probably won't influence the way the engine runs too much. There, I like that. That's just perfect. But as long as, I mean, I have everything apart already, so I may as well tune it to perfection since I have everything there. Yeah, I'm happy with this. So since I was cleaning my side frame, I also cleaned the shell out. You know, I discovered an important feature. It has those see-through fans. So that is important for the looks of the engine, but also makes a big difference for cooling. These get hot quite a bit, so you have to watch them. I've seen them get hot enough to melt the shell. So you definitely need that extra cooling. On hot rods, they used to put louvers on the hoods, and some of the earlier ones even got, actually this was probably going to be easier. The earlier ones even got no hoods, you know, They used to change the 32 Fords to 350 Chevys, and the hood wouldn't fit, of course, so they mostly got rid of it. So that also helped for cooling. So I'm gonna just wiggle this back to where it should be. Fits in just perfectly. These remind me, you know, of my early days doing N scale. Now I have to adjust this gear that's at the top here. Just position everything so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got to adjust this gear so that it clears the hole. So I can move the wheels to make sure that the gear is centered, so I can put my little pin back in. So that's your little extra tip of the day. There's my pin. So I am gonna loop it though, because they do that should improve performance. So this won't be my best running engine, but it will run, and it will be fun to have it. Reminds me of the old days. So I went from that type of engine to having, you know, the latest DCC and sound. So I'm going to keep working on this off camera. So that's good for the front truck. I'm also going to work on the rear one. I don't know if you noticed before, but the coupler is broken. So I'm going to be doing the back one mostly off camera, except that I will be showing you how to fix the rear coupler. Re-gauging everything like this, one of the benefits is it will go over switches much easier. So while I have the side frames in my hand, this is the best time to change out this coupler. So you will need your smallest screwdriver, and you have to pry out this small metal clip. This is the way it was done back 30 years ago. Of course, the new microtrains couplers are much better looking. Actually, I have the opportunity here to switch it to a knuckle, which I'm not going to do, because I can use this engine very seldomly, you know, sometimes to reminisce of the way it was and to see all the remarkable improvements, you know, over time. So the Rapido couplers actually fit this very well. This, you have to pry this very gently. This takes a little bit of time. Just make sure that it's perfectly straight, and then you can pull it out. So be careful, there's a little spring in there. You don't want to break any of the stuff there. So I'm taking extra good time. Now there's a channel I've been watching when the guy buys old cars at scrapyards and tries to fix them up. The two guys I'm watching, they're actually really excellent mechanics. So I learned quite a bit from them. You know, they have all the tools, and they know which tool to use when. So that's a lot of fun. So this little spring is loose now, so don't lose it. And then I'll bring in a new coupler. I have a bunch of couplers, I have a bunch of Rapidos, I have a bunch of microtrains. So we'll pick one out that looks good. Here, this little guy looks good. I have to double check to be 100% sure that it has enough room to move a little bit in the box. Yeah, that looks awesome. So I'm going to put my little clip back in. Here, I'm going to straighten it out before I put it in. To this side, I don't know if you can see this. This side is very straight. But this other side here, this is why I had such a hard time pulling it through. It's anything but straight. So straighten this back out. Yeah, you see how it's important to have the right tool at the right time. Straighten it back out and put it back under here. There. Oh, I managed to put it upside down. Look at that. Well, at this point, it's not going to be too hard to switch it around. So I don't know if that's going to be really useful knowledge for you, but this little pin should be down on your Rapido couplers. There was a Rapido, I think they had a system where there would be a box that pushes on these pins to uncouple them. I'm not 100% sure if there was such a thing. That was like 30 or 40 years ago. When microtrains came up with their stuff, that went out the window, that system. Everybody wants the magnetic couplers. So there, I can put this back on the locomotive. Now I got everything lubed up and cleaned up and the gauge adjusted. I'm gonna want to go see how it runs on the track. I could bench test it, but it ran good before. So I don't feel there's any need to bench test it. It should still run good. In fact, it should run better. There's still the matter of this little fuel tank weight. So that just goes back with a little bit of crazy glue. I got my crazy glue right here. The crazy glue does a million things. Although you have to be careful, you don't want to spill it around. You can wreck your motor, wreck your engine if you put too much crazy glue. Although it's clear, so maybe you can get away with a little bit. Still doesn't look too good. And there, so that's going to go back in here. And now I have to wait for it to dry. I took a minute to put back this railing also, since I had it in the box. I wanted to include it. So it runs pretty good. It's still noisy. So depending on how fast you run it, you can have more or less noise. So I mean, it ran good to begin with. So it's gonna be fun. So let me just put the shell back on. Very easy. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.